This evening, the Kansas City, Kansas Landmarks Commission has a proclamation. Whereas Mr. Merle Bland was appointed to the Kansas City, Kansas Landmarks Commission in December 2007 and has served as a member until April 25th, 2024 for a total of 17 years. And whereas he has a desire to preserve the history of the people and places of Wyandotte County. And whereas he and his wife Carol founded the newspaper, the Wyandotte West, on June 20th, 1968, and published weekly until it was sold in 2004. Whereas he served on the board of directors of the Kansas Press Association, including holding the position of president and the newspaper foundation. And whereas he served as a trustee on the William Allen White Foundation and helped produce the documentary file on Mr. White. Whereas he has served as a conscious and dedicated member of the Kansas City Landmarks Commission and demonstrated through word and action a deep passion and love for his community. It is present and future well-being. Now, therefore, the Kansas City, Kansas Landmarks Commission wishes to recognize and commend Merle Bland for his contributions to this community and commission. David Meditz, Chairman, August 5th, 2024. Thank you, Merle, for doing what you've done. And I would add one more item to this. Merle is a long-standing member of the Board of Directors for the Wyandotte County Historical Society and Museum. So he has served many roles for this county and this city. Thank you again, Merle Bland. Thank you, Merle.
Thank you.
Moving right along with our order of business this evening, we are now to consideration of the minutes for May 20th, 2024, subcommittee minutes, and the May 6th, 2024 Landmarks Commission meeting minutes. Those have been transmitted to us electronically. And if everyone has had a chance to review that, I would accept a motion to approve.
Mrs. Hill has her hand raised.
Yes, Miss Mickey Hill.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Pardon, I'm calling in from Oklahoma, so I'm having a little bit of difficulty. Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes as provided to us.
Mr. Schrader, I second the motion.
It has been moved and it's seconded that we approve the minutes as presented to us for May 20th, 24 and May 6th, 2024. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing no opposition, that motion carries. Moving right along tonight, what we have on our agenda is certificate of approval for 2024.
Mr. Chairman.
010. Yes, Madam Secretary.
You're getting a little bit ahead of us here. The first thing we need to do is we need to take a roll call, and then I'll read the statement, and then I'll call the application. So I'm going to do roll call first. Chamberlain, is not
Present.
present. Curtis,
He will not be in attendance with us tonight.
Mr. Findorf, I have an absence email from him. Gerber,
Here.
Meditz,
Here,
Roberts, Schrader,
Here.
Steele,
Here.
Townsend,
Here.
and Welcome Hill.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, who is that is sitting right next to you?
on which side? Schrader is on one side and Mr. Chamberlain is on my right side.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, I'm going to read the Landmarks Commission statement now. We would like to welcome those participating to the meeting of the Kansas City, Kansas Landmarks Commission. Members are participating remotely by Zoom or in person in the Commission chamber. Mr. David Meditz is serving as chairman this evening. Please note the following instructions for the meeting. If you are joining by Zoom, please make sure that your microphone is muted until it is your time to speak. Members, please use the raise your hand feature to speak. After Chairman Meditz recognizes you, unmute your microphone and please state your name when you begin to speak. For those in attendance via Zoom of the public, please use the raise your hand feature when you want to speak on an issue. Chairman Meditz will recognize you when it is your time to speak. If you are in the commission chamber, please come to the microphone when the agenda item is called, and Chairman Meditz will recognize you when it is your time to speak. If you have called in by telephone only, or if you're having trouble logging into the Zoom meeting, please email planninginfo@wicokck.org as Secretary Parker is monitoring that email. Proper meeting decorum is expected of all participating in the meeting, and anyone who fails to act properly will be removed from the meeting. The city reserves the right to discontinue a meeting if any improper behavior occurs, which prevents the uninterrupted conduct of business. The format for this evening's meeting is as follows. The applicant will make the opening statement explaining the proposal. Please note that the applicant will be given 15 minutes to present their case. The 15 minutes includes the applicant, consultants, and other members of the applicant's team. Members of the Landmarks Commission will then address any questions they may have to the applicant. Any persons wishing to speak in favor will then be called upon and allowed to do so at that time. Then those persons in opposition will be called upon and allowed to make their statements and ask questions. Please note that each member of the public who wishes to speak will be given 5 minutes to express their opinions. Time may not be shared between speakers. Each speaker will be allowed to speak one time unless a question is directed to them. The Landmarks Commission is required to disclose any contact with regard to any item on the agenda. I will ask if any contact has been made with the public, commissioners, or other Landmarks Commission members, and at that time, members of the commission will disclose any contacts they may have had. Mr. Chairman, our first application is Certificate of Appropriateness CA 2024-010, Doug Clements. Certificate of Appropriateness for the construction of a parking lot for Wyandotte High School at 2501 Minnesota Avenue, listed on the Kansas Register of Historic Places and the National Register of Historic Places. Does any member of the commission have any contact to disclose with regard to this application?
Madam Chairman, this is Commissioner Meditz here. I have just had casual conversations have people through meeting him at different public events and things like that, but it should not affect my decisions.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any contact to disclose? Okay, thank you.
At this point in time, I would ask our applicant to please step forward and present your case.
All right, good evening. Thanks for letting me come here again tonight. My name is Doug Clements, Director of Physical Properties with the Kansas City, Kansas Public School District at 2010 North 59th Street in Kansas City, Kansas. I believe Brian Hill with MKEC Engineering may be on the Zoom call if we have any questions for him. I think we probably are all fairly familiar with this application at this point. As you know, because we receive federal funds for some of our advanced classes in their schools, we were subject to an Office of Civil Rights audit, looking specifically at ADA accessibility and accessibility to all the classrooms, the building, and everything checked out pretty good except for getting into the building. So therefore, we are required to provide, as we are desiring to do, adequate ADA parking and accessibility to the front door of the building. So as you know, we came back several months ago, came to you with an application where we were planning on installing a parking lot all the way across the front of the building. That did not meet with your approval or the approval of the neighbors or the alumni. So we heard those comments and we've come back now with an revised plan moving that parking lot to the south of the existing gym area. And I think you have that in the packet. I don't know if the city comments have been updated, but there is a copy of that plan. Now we are planning on not only just the ADA spaces up by the school, we have a few down by the ball fields now, and we are wanting to, while we spend the money to address the ADA parking and put in a parking lot, we'd like to expand that to try to some way help our really stressed parking situation there at Wyandotte. There's very little actual parking and people tend to park on the grass and everywhere. So we have added some parking to the side. The question came up. I will mention too that we did have an informational open house at the school on July the 17th. It was a Wednesday. We invited all the neighbors within 200 feet of the property. We invited Alumni Association. Ms. Parker was good to send us a list of the people who had spoken in opposition. We wanted to make sure they knew what our new plan was. And they came and we received very favorable comments. I was hoping they were going to be here. Several people, they may be online, had commented that they were going to come speak in favor of this proposed revision. So I guess I don't know if I have anything else. Ms. Stewart maybe is going to speak in here a little bit, but she is the principal of the school. It can shed some more light on the situation that she deals with every day there. So again, our intent is to provide adequate ADA parking and accessibility to all parts of the building, the gym area. So when people come in, they can park over there by the gym and have access into the gym, both the spectator and floor level. They'll come on around to the secure front entrance. That's a very key component for us, is to make sure that all of our visitors come through our security measures at the front door, or they can continue on around and access the auditorium foyer level and get into the auditorium, which right now they really cannot do. People cannot do. It's a little bit of a distance. ADA requirements does not have a distance requirement, but it's, as long as it's all on the accessible route, which this will do that. So that's in a nutshell my presentation for this evening, and I'll be happy to answer any questions or refer to Brian Hill.
Do any of my fellow commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Chamberlain.
I don't know why this thing's beating back, but there you go. That's much better. how many total parking spaces are we ended up adding under this proposal?
You know, I was sitting over there thinking I should have printed off that plan because I want to say it's 45 and I didn't include that in the part that I printed off. Again, I'll defer to Brian if he's online and can jump in and answer that question.
These are all around the southwest.
They're
corner,
all
around
on the, behind the gym, right? And then they line that service lane that goes back to our mechanical room.
Yeah.
And that way we can have some parking for those ball fields and everything back there. Yeah.
All right, that was my primary question. Of those, I understand that 8 are required per ADA.
Actually, I think it's 7 is the requirement.
7.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Brian Hill is online if you would like to have an answer to your question.
Yes, we would.
Hi, thank you, Janet. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. 52 new stalls are being added there on the southwest side of the building.
And that includes the 7 ADA.
Correct.
Thank you. Commissioner Schrader, did you have a question? Commissioner Steele? Do you have an overview map on your presentation?
Yeah, Brian can pull that up.
Okay, here we go.
Janet, would you mind being able to enable
Yeah.
me to share screen?
Give me just 1 second.
See the
Okay,
diagram
thank
there
you.
on the left.
Okay, you should be okay now.
Okay.
Okay, I see what you're saying. About 45 parking places altogether, is that what it is? 54?
And where is your parking right now?
Well,
Alright,
parking right now, honestly, is there in the up. There's the plot plan of the proposed lot.
So this is
we've
the
added-
existing building here. This L shape is the existing building. Washington Boulevard's over, street is over here. And then this is an existing drive that comes off of Washington back to an area south of the building. And so parking will be added along that existing drive. Some existing parking, as Doug mentioned, will be enhanced here for service. And then a new parking lot added in this area here that will accommodate ADA access to the building.
And so the existing parking, I don't know if someone can pull back up that aerial view of
I can pull that up. Doug, here you go.
the Wyandotte site. The existing parking is off in the northeast corner to the east of the existing auditorium. There is a teacher's lot there, and then to the south of that is referred to as the student lot. And then a big chunk of it is out on the street.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner Steele?
I'd like to see the overview map just one more time.
You can see the asphalt areas there in the upper right corner. That's the teacher lot. Student lot is to the south of that. There's quite a bit of grade change between those lots and the door, and getting them into on an accessible route, and then having accessibility within the buildings from those points is difficult, which is why we brought it around over to the other side.
And right where the cursor is, that's where the proposed parking lot change is going to be.
Correct.
And the ingress.
We're
and
not-
egress
We are
from-
not seeing that overview online.
Okay,
Sorry to
let
interrupt.
me try to share that again here.
Thank you.
Randy, while he's pulling that up, are you on the Zoom meeting so that they can see what Mr. Hill is showing?
We had a few issues with Zoom. They seem to be rectified. I did not have the ability to share my screen, but we do
Because-
now see what Mr. Hill is showing.
Okay, thank you.
The aerial is showing right now. Can you all see that?
All right.
Yes.
Yes.
So the new parking is proposed here south and west of the building off of Washington. And the parking Doug mentioned a minute ago here is up here in the northeast corner of the site, teacher lot and student lot. And then the rest of the parking would be on street. You can see here how many cars park along Washington on a given day due to the lack of parking on this side of the building.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else have any further questions? So I have a couple here. There is no plans for any parking at the front of the building.
No, sir.
Okay, because that was a big hang up the last time around.
Absolutely.
Within the plan, it has been my impression from seeing other things that the unified government has done or requested on new construction is that parking seems to, they don't want it visible from the street, landscaping. Is there any of that within your plan?
Yes, there's a landscaping plan as required by the city, and that we're meeting those requirements to landscape around the perimeter of that parking lot.
All right.
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Chamberlain.
May we assume that landscaping involves screening?
It does. There's full screening of the parking lot, as well as then these parking stalls face north and south. So the headlights will not face the adjacent houses to the west as well. And then the parking lot is screened per UG requirements.
I will, if I can, Mr. Chamberlain, make a special note that at the informational open house that we had, that the same question came up from some of the attendees. I hesitate to call them neighbors. I don't really know where they were from, but they were concerned about getting, if I can say, too much or too tall screening to create an area where undesired activities may occur at night. And we understand that. So we're going to try to do that landscaping in such a way that meets both goals.
May I ask, what is your time frame for this development?
Assuming that we can move forward with our approval process, because I need to meet the requirements of the Office of Civil Rights, I'm still hoping that we can get this constructed this fall.
Okay. The reason I ask that, knowing the constraints that are on all of our public entities right now in terms of monies, I just wanted to make sure that financing is available to
Yes, sir.
complete this project, that we don't tear something up and then all of a sudden you've got to come back before us again for some alterations.
No, I promise you, I also have a board that I answer to, and they would not let me start something I can't finish. Yeah, so we have the funds in place to do this.
Thank you.
Chairman Manditz,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill has her
Hill.
hand raised.
Commissioner Welcome Hill.
Yes, please. And just to clarify, this screening you're talking about is all agricultural, not actually fencing of any kind like that.
Correct. Yeah, yes, it's plants and
Thank
shrubs.
you.
Any other of my other commissioners have any further questions at this point? Thank you, sir. At this point, I will ask anyone here would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, would you please come forward, state your name and address. Madam Secretary, do we have anyone online?
Yes, I have two people online. They do not have their hand raised, so I do not know if they want to speak or not.
Is there anyone online at this point that would like to speak in favor? I see none and I hear none, Madam Secretary.
That is correct, sir.
At this point, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this certificate of appropriateness? I see none in the council chambers. Is there anyone online wishing to speak against this certificate of appropriateness?
Mr. Chairman, I have no hands raised online.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. At this point, is there any comments that staff would like to address to this commission?
This is Randy Greaves, historic preservationist. So as you're familiar with the case, this is the construction of a parking lot along the south side of the parcel, south of the gymnasium. There is also an expansion of a loading dock driveway to the north of the school itself. Here's some pictures of both of those locations where the work is to take place. So you can kind of see how it'll impact the building itself. So staff recommends approval of this with no conditions. There are 2 votes the commission will have to have tonight, 1 per Kansas state law and 1 for our own local ordinance. The first vote should be for the state law review, in which case the vote is whether or not this damages or destroys historically significant materials, associations, the integrity of the building as a whole. And then it'll be the vote that you are more used to after that.
Do any of my fellow commissioners have questions for staff? I see none. I see no hands raised. Commissioner Chamberlain? If there are no further questions, I will accept a motion for approval or denial.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, our first vote will be for the Kansas State Law Review as to whether or not the scope of work will damage or destroy the historic integrity of the building, materials, association, design, feeling, location, workmanship, or setting. So we need a vote, either it will or will not.
So I motion for the Kansas State Law Review to be approved.
This is Commissioner Schrader. I second that motion by the other commissioner.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the motion as presented. Is there any discussion? I see no hands raised. I will call for the question.
Okay, and I'm just going to clarify the motion if that's okay. The
Please
motion
do.
is by Commissioner Gerber, seconded by Commissioner Schrader, that the work proposed will not damage or destroy the historic integrity of the building.
Correct.
Okay. Chamberlain,
Aye.
Gerber,
Aye.
Schrader,
Aye.
Steele,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Welcome Hill.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that motion passes 6 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Now, we need a motion for approval of CA 20240010.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion.
Mr. Steele makes the motion.
I second that emotion, that motion. This is Commissioner Welcome Hill.
Thank you, Commissioner Welcome Hill. Is there any discussion?
I was not a proponent of the original plan, but I appreciate the district's efforts to accommodate the interests of the community and thank you.
I second those comments that Commissioner Chamberlain just made and would encourage you, if any future development comes up, use the same deal. And I think we could handle this months ago. At this point in time, if there's no further comments, I will call for the question.
The motion is by Commissioner Steele, seconded by Commissioner Welcome Hill, that the Landmarks Commission approve the Certificate of Appropriateness CA 2024-010. Chamberlain,
Aye.
Gerber,
Aye.
Schrader,
Aye.
Steele,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
and Welcome Hill.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that motion passes 6 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you. Thank you to our applicant. Please make it look very, very nice and go for it.
Mr. Chairman, that completes our applications for the evening, and we will now move on to the reports. And the first one is the report of the historic preservationist in the Planning and Urban Design Department. Mr. Greaves?
This is Randy Greaves, Historic Preservationist. My first report is on the Main Street program. I'm pleased to announce that Downtown Shareholders has successfully applied and been accepted as a designated Main Street organization through Kansas Main Street. As such, they've been undergoing specialized training about the Main Street approach in preparation for taking on that mantle of championing our history in downtown and helping to revitalize local businesses. My second report is the number of reviews. I forgot to count that up precisely. I've been averaging about 12 reviews a month these last couple of months, though that will drop significantly going forward based on my current list. That is all.
This is Chairman Minutes. Randy, could you maybe give us just a quick summary of where these reviews that you're doing are taking place within the city?
This is Randy Greaves, Historic Preservationist. The vast majority of these reviews have been environs reviews in the vicinity of West Height, the Parkwood neighborhood, the ruins. We've had a few south of the Kansas River around various local landmarks in that area. The other reviews have mostly been exempted work for projects that are done in kind that do not impact the historic nature of these buildings as per our ordinance.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions for Mr. Greaves this evening?
This is Linda Gerber. Where can we see these reports and where these are taking place? Just curious to be able to read them and see where they are.
This is Randy Greaves, Historic Preservationist. I don't have any of my administrative reports up for public viewing, but we'll need to look into that and see about getting you some of them.
Okay, I was just curious. You said you did some south of the river and then the others are north of the river. So just curious on where some of the sites are.
I would be happy to show you all the sites that we have. We have mapping tools for that, and so we can point out where all these historic buildings are, as well as I believe we're working on GIS mapping to showcase where our reviews are happening so that they can be tracked more accurately, but I'm not familiar with the project and do not know the status of it.
Okay, all right, thank you. And do you, is somebody at the city hall helping you with the GIS mapping?
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any other comments or questions for Mr. Greaves? Seeing no hands raised, seeing no requests, I will move on now to a report from our outreach committee, which is chaired by Commissioner Schrader.
Thank you. Yes, back in May, we did have a subcommittee meeting and those minutes were included in your packet. I do have a little bit of a follow-up to that. I did work as requested with Mr. Greaves to see about utilizing the business license process to get some information out to our local businesses who are doing home repair or might be involved with that, informing them of our landmarks ordinance and the need to get certificates of appropriateness and all those kinds of things. And Mr. Greaves was able to reach out to the business license folks, and Mr. Hayworth there did provide basically an Excel spreadsheet of over 2,000 business licenses in the city that might be involved in these kinds of things. So what I have shared with the rest of my subcommittee is that we really do need to think about how we might do something either as just a notification that would go to these folks, or when their renewal processes come up, how we could share that information. Even though it sounds like a lot of folks, the ability to maybe do something electronically, might actually not be that much of a big deal. So we're still looking into how we might do that. I will be reaching out to the rest of my subcommittee members to try to see if we might be able to do a meeting sometime later this month. Commissioner Hill, I know your schedule was a little bit weird during school, and I know school's starting up again. So let me know what your schedule might be like, and we'll see if we can't coordinate with your new fall schedule. I'm assuming it might be just as weird as your spring schedule was, but I'll be reaching out to you, okay?
Yes, sir.
Then I'd also like to speak, if I may, also in May, I had an opportunity to meet with the Historic Preservation Design Board that was formed by our certificate of appropriateness for the new community college and buildings down at 7th and State, where we, in my opinion, reluctantly approved the demolition of the historic 7th Street Methodist Episcopal Church South. I'm happy to report that the report that the Historic Preservation Design Board put together with the community college included, disposition of a lot of salvageable items. And we had a chance to meet with Dr. Mosier, president of the community college, in May to look at some of those salvage items, and it was good. I'll just briefly go through. There were a significant amount of both interior and exterior stained glass windows that were salvageable and stored. Still trying to work on exactly the best way to restore those. Several of those are anticipated to be on display in the new facility. They did coordinate with Grenner House on some of the historic brick that did get delivered, I understand, to the Grenner property for them to be able to utilize with some brick repairs at Grenner House. They saved quite a few of the limestone blocks, more for display because a lot of them are not very, I say stable anymore, but they can be used for display purposes. The top corners of the tower had metal pier caps, they're called, which are really very interesting formed metal. Not even sure what it might have been lead even. And those could be utilized for display purposes as well. So they're working on that as a possibility. No tin ceiling tiles were salvaged. And a lot of paneled wood doors were salvaged, and some of those may be able to be utilized for some cabinet facings in some of the display areas. But there's no evidence of any other kind of miscellaneous carpentry that was able to be salvaged. There was an interesting floor tile medallion in the main vestibule that we didn't know whether or not it would be salvageable, and it actually was. They're really going to try to use that as a display also in the new facility. They were able to salvage some of the pews. They're going to be utilizing some of those for benches within the new facility. It's interesting to me that several of these are being restored personally by Dr. Mosher, who's an amateur woodworker. And he's very proud, as he should be, he's very proud of some of the work that he's been able to do restoring these benches, these pews for use in the new facility. The one thing that he was not able to show us, some of the pieces of the large high Victorian wood trusses on the interior of the building. I don't know if you remember seeing any of those pictures. They were salvaged, but they had been moved from the community college's tech center there, the old Walmart, to another location. And so we weren't able to look at those, but we were assured that they have been salvaged and they're trying to figure out how best to utilize those. So that was good information to see. And I was able to take some photographs, which I can share with anybody who needs to look at them. So that was really what I wanted to report on. Oh, one more thing, and follow up a little bit on the Main Street thing that Mr. Greaves was talking about. Randy and I have been working with downtown shareholders. We're hoping to be able to have an informational meeting for downtown businesses about the historic preservation tax credit that would be available for those folks who are within the district. Downtown shareholders is hoping to have something here towards the end of the month, both online and in person, to kind of introduce folks who have questions about how that might work. Once we have details on that, I'll have Secretary Parker make sure that all my fellow Landmarks commissioners have an opportunity to participate if they would like to. So I'm eager to see that come about. So we're slowly but surely trying to do some outreach.
Thank you for that report, Commissioner Schrader. I found it interesting you talked about meeting with the downtown businesses. Yes, I'd had some contact with some individuals that were a little confused
Yeah.
now that we have the historic district about some of the storm damage that came up
Oh,
and windows that were going to have to be replaced, and it was going to be the same style, same type, just a replacement. But they were informed that no, that somebody stopped them and said they'd have to have a permit and they'd have to come before this and that. So there is a little bit of disconnect as to
right.
what's allowed, what isn't allowed, et cetera, et cetera.
What I
So-
usually try to, this is Commissioner Schrader again, what I usually try to tell people who ask those kinds of questions is, please give Randy Greaves a call, and he is the best person to walk you through the process. Some of those processes may be able to be done administratively, not all, obviously, but some may be able to be done that way. So yes, there is an additional step, but it may not be as egregious as some people fear. So, that's the nature of what we do. There is additional review, but I know one of the things that Mr. Greaves does try to do is try to make it as expeditious as can be, even though sometimes the process is not very expeditious, but Randy does a good job.
Well, that's
Just reach
what I
out to him.
did. I passed out his telephone number and said, here's the man. We ought to be able to hand this very easily for you. And here's the man to talk to.
So anyway, yes.
All right. Thank you again, Commissioner Schrader. At this point, we'll move on to our next item, which is Ms. Parker. Do you have an update on landmarks appointments?
Yes, I do. We only have one appointment that's vacant, and that is by Commissioner Gail Townsend, and it is for someone in the banking or financial um field. She is working on that. She has talked to a bank about a representative, so I'm hoping here in the next month or so that that will be completed. So we are getting close.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Townsend. I do appreciate that because this has been a sticking point for us for many, many months. Thank you for all your efforts. I believe that is the last item on our order of business unless you have something else, Madam Secretary.
I do not, sir, except I want to remind the commission that next month, because of the Labor Day holiday, our meeting will be on Tuesday, September the 3rd.
Thank you. And I look forward to seeing all my commissioners then and have a safe holiday in between. Please don't forget to do your civic duty again tomorrow. Cast your vote. I don't care for who. That's your choice. Just vote. At this point, I would accept a motion for adjournment.
So move. This is Commissioner Schrader. Second.
Mr. Chamberlain seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
I.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good one till I see you again.
Take care, everyone.